So we're going to jump right into it. It's a 61 Oracle build, 8 Inquisitor, and 7 Shaman. It's catered towards being able to give good support and being able to deal some good damage at the same time. The masteries that I'm using are Avenging Shield, Blessing of Penitence, Faith's Freedom, Faith's Reward, and Soul Stream. Now remember, you guys can swap these around however you feel. If you feel like something works better for you, this is just personally what I felt was best for what I was going for. And I'm going to leave it here for a second so you can take a moment and pause the screen so you can see where everything is. Alright, so Mass Bestowal gives you all of your boons and inspirations, so you don't have to put them there all separately. So you can see there's quite a few of them. Then we've got Vengeance of Winter Storm, Arm of Devotion, and then you've got your 3 favors, similar to how the Bard has the 3 that they have. I forget what they're called right now. And we're going to go with Marshaled Favor for now, for reduced ability cost. Alright, now we're going to take a look at the macros. Alright, so for macros, I have a spam macro, which has Emblem of Pain. In the beginning, there's a lot of the Ascended abilities, but not everyone has all of the same ones, so you don't necessarily, you can take note of what I have here, but you don't have to necessarily follow them. And for those who aren't familiar with how to build macros, then I'll just go over it a little bit. Show, or hashtag as people say, but #, show whatever ability it is that you want to see here as far as the icon. Suppress macro failures, and then you begin to cast in whatever abilities you want to cast them, in which order you want to cast them. And the first actual ability for me is Sanctioned Heretic. And because of the way that I have it set up, it'll cast Vex at the same time. Then Premonition here, which applies all of your emblem buffs, and the next 2 non-emblem damaging or healing abilities don't consume them. And there are 3 different emblem buffs. You have Emblem of Pain, Emblem of Alacrity, and Emblem of Ice. One increases your damage or healing of the next non-emblem ability by 26%. This will reduce the cast time of your next ability by 2 seconds and reduce its mana cost by 33%. And then Emblem of Pain, upon reaching 3 stacks, Agony explodes, dealing 7,747 damage. Now, Oracle's a little difficult to use for someone who's just beginning to use the build. So the way that I choose to do it, pretty much I will go through each of the emblems and then use a non-emblem ability. So Insignia of Blood, ideally. But back to the macro. Glacial Insignia, which is your strongest attack here. 26,399 damage for me. Then Emblem of Pain and Break Free. My Fury macro, which is pretty much my big burst macro, it will give me Defend the Fallen, which will put a shield on myself and allies and increase damage by 15% for 15 seconds. And then Battle Fury, which resets and reduces the cooldown of your insignia. And insignia of Glacial Insignia will be spammable at this point. And you'll also have all of your emblem buffs, so you'll be doing a pretty good amount of damage at this point. And you'll see here shortly once I demonstrate it. And then I have my Heal macro, which gives Glacial Mark, which will cause the next healing ability used on allies below 50% of health to heal them an additional 5,849 damage, and Icy Cascade, which heals for 9,579 damage, and each emblem ability or buff that is consumed increases that healing by 100%. So you can heal up to 300% of that damage. Or more. Alright. Now the rotation, the one that I use may not necessarily be the best one. I'm still fairly new to the Oracle use myself, but the way that I choose to use it is Corroded Defense and then Curse of Consumption to apply a non-physical damage increased by 7%, and then the enemy will take an additional 1900 damage. And you also have a Curse of Frailty, which is good to use if you're in if you have time to apply all of your buffs on the enemy, like if you're in a boss fight for PvE, but I predominantly PvP. And I'll just go over all of these just so you can kind of see. Oversight here increases the amount of enemies that you can hit to up to 3 others, but it reduces your damage of your emblems and insignias by 50%. Insignia of Protection is one of the first things you want to cast on an enemy, so that it'll apply an Absorb Shield on your enemy. It has a 25% chance to apply an Absorb Shield on whoever's attacking that enemy, and it can occur once every 10 seconds. Soul Stream, of course, which can be used as a decent damaging ability. The damage isn't quite as good as if you were in a full damage soul, but it's also great to use as a last minute heal. Discerning Wave, which does okay damage, and it also will apply a shield on your party or raid members who are in that cone in front of you. You have Resuscitating Chant, which restores mana, charge, power, and energy, which is very similar to the other Bard ability. But that Bard ability, I believe, also increases damage, but we have Defend the Fallen for that. As before, we have the 3 emblem abilities, which all apply their different buffs. You have Insignia of Blood, which doesn't have a cooldown. You have a Cleansing Chant, which will remove 1 curse, disease, or poison to your raid members once every 3 seconds, for 3 seconds. Alright, so as I said, Corroded Defense, Curse of Consumption, if I have time to set this all up, that is. And then I'll use Wasted Insignia. Then I'll move into my Emblem of Pain macro, or spam macro, to cast Sanction Heretic. And then I'll move into my Burst macro. And then once that's run through Emblem of Pain, Emblem of Alacrity, Emblem of Ice, Insignia of Blood, and then you pretty much run all the way back through until you get to Emblem of Pain again, and then you repeat, so that you can get all of your buffs for your emblem abilities, so that you can pretty much cast Insignia of Blood to use all of the buffs that you get from them and get the best that you can get out of it. So I'm going to show it here now. So yeah, that's the gist of it. Although I did forget to cast Insignia of Protection in the beginning. But yeah, I'm sure this rotation isn't exactly the best, but that's kind of the general breakdown. And as you can see, it spiked at 55k DPS at one point, and I've gotten up to 60k using that burst macro, so you get to do some pretty decent damage with it. But yeah, I mean, that's the gist of it. So if you guys have any questions or any suggestions that you can give me, by all means, I love to theorycraft builds, and I'm always open to suggestions to make things better. And rotations as well, because like I said, Oracle is something that's still fairly new to me, but I know people wanted to see kind of how I was doing so much damage with it, so I wanted to show them what I was doing. And yeah, so don't be afraid to leave comments or anything below. Take care.